This woman says her pool builder husband isn't just fixing pools, he's fixing dates with half-naked clients. And now, she wants out, plus nearly $7,000 a month in support. He swears it's all business, but the texts and the bikini photos tell a different story. The judge is about to find out who's telling the truth and her decision. Let's just say one of them is leaving this courtroom very unhappy. Mrs. Harper came before the court explaining that she intended to leave her husband of just 2 years, citing strong suspicions that he had been involved with other women. They share 2 very young children, aged 2 years and 6 months, and she described feeling devastated by the situation. She explained that her husband, who works in the pool business, often returned to clients' homes after installations were complete, where women would be sunbathing in bikinis, claiming it was servicing the pools, though she doubted his intentions. While checking his phone for work purposes, as she is also the company's secretary, she discovered messages from these women, some of which she found inappropriate and too explicit to repeat. Believing this environment was unsuitable for raising her children, she sought to leave the marriage, take custody of the children, and noted that their business brings in substantial income. Mrs. Harper explained that after leaving her husband, she would no longer have access to the financial resources they currently share, yet she wished to maintain the lifestyle her children were accustomed to. This included keeping them in their private school, which costs about $1,800 a month in tuition, as well as retaining their nanny so the children's daily routines would remain stable. She emphasized the importance of minimizing disruption, noting that they currently live in a home valued at around $500,000 and that she hoped to secure a similar property. When asked about tuition costs, she clarified that the $1,800 fee remains fixed once a child is accepted into the school, while she was unsure of the nanny's exact monthly cost. As her husband pays most of the bills, she confirmed that she had already begun exploring other housing options, ideally within the same neighborhood, and expressed a preference to purchase rather than rent a new home. Mrs. Harper stated that in order to maintain the lifestyle she and her children have enjoyed, she would need her husband to cover most major expenses if she were awarded custody. The homes she had been considering would require roughly $3,000 a month in mortgage payments, which she expected him to pay, along with continued funding for the nanny and the $1,800 monthly private school tuition. Having worked only part-time and unwilling to continue working in the business alongside him and the clients she finds questionable, she anticipated needing time to secure alternative part-time employment and believed he should cover all costs until then. She added that the court should not believe his excuses regarding other women. In response, Mr. Harper denied any wrongdoing, explaining that he had built the pool business long before their marriage and had worked hard to grow it into a successful operation with strong staff and crews. He said part of his role involved personally inspecting completed jobs to ensure quality, maintaining relationships with clients, and providing follow-up service efforts. He claimed reduced marketing costs by generating referrals, while acknowledging that many clients were women who sometimes made casual or suggestive comments. He insisted that maintaining contact was strictly professional and beneficial for business, not evidence of inappropriate conduct. Pressed by the court, Mr. Harper denied socializing with female clients, insisting that if they happened to be sunbathing by the pool, it had nothing to do with his work and that he did not join them or get in the water. When confronted with a text that allegedly showed him in a client's pool, he said he didn't remember such a photo. He suggested Mrs. Harper had an active imagination, acknowledging she works part-time as the company's secretary but asserting her primary role is childcare though. He added, the nanny handles most of the daily childcare. On finances, he stated the nanny costs about $1,200 per month and said his own income averages around $280,000 a year, fluctuating with the market. Mrs. Harper countered that he earns over $300,000, a figure he disputed. Mr. Harper described his wife's lifestyle as one filled with outings with friends, lunches, spa days, and therapy sessions, expenses he claims to cover. Mrs. Harper clarified that therapy was not leisure, but a necessity caused by the stress of their marriage, adding pointedly that she once imagined he was a good man when she married him. Mr. Harper emphasized that he maintains the household finances, pays the bills, and covers insurance for both her and the children, noting, the children's portion alone costs $309 monthly. He said providing a safe and wholesome environment for the children was important to him, but accused Mrs. Harper of relying heavily on the nanny for childcare. While acknowledging that his work schedule would make full custody challenging, he expressed a desire to have the children live with him, believing she is too focused on herself to provide adequate care. When asked if it might be best for the children to remain with their mother, as had been the norm, Mr. Harper said he would agree only if she were the one caring for them, insisting that most of their day-to-day needs were handled by the nanny. The judge noted that if the children lived with him, they would likely spend even more time with the nanny, potentially increasing childcare costs, a scenario Mr. Harper conceded might not be in their best interest. Turning to Mrs. Harper, the court learned that she holds a GED, an achievement she expressed pride in. She countered her husband's claims of wanting a wholesome environment by questioning the appropriateness of his evening visits to female clients' homes, suggesting that he could be spending that time with his family. Mr. Harper denied visiting women's homes every night, saying occasional evening calls were related to business, often with clients' families present, typically around 8 or 9 p.m. Discussion also revealed that the Harpers do not regularly cook at home, instead relying on takeout, prepared meals, or food picked up by Mr. Harper. Concluding this portion, the judge indicated that Mrs. Harper likely had grounds for and was eligible to receive some form of spousal support. The judge explained that, because Mrs. Harper did not wish to remain in the marital home, the circumstances would differ from a case where she stayed. But she would still be entitled to spousal maintenance, though not indefinitely. It would be a temporary arrangement meant to help her get established, secure a job, and arrange suitable housing for the children. Turning to child support, the court calculated Mr. Harper's net monthly resources at approximately $8,891. Based on a capped income figure under Texas law, with 2 children, the guideline percentage of 25% brought the child support obligation to $2,222.75 per month. In addition, the judge ordered Mr. Harper to continue paying the $1,200 monthly cost for the nanny and the $1,800 monthly tuition for the children's private school. Regarding Mrs. Harper's stated need for $3,000 in monthly mortgage payments for a new home, the court declined to require Mr. Harper to cover the full amount, stating that she would be working and should contribute toward maintaining her own expenses rather than relying entirely on him. The judge took a measured tone as she explained the purpose and scope of the spousal maintenance being awarded in the case of Mr. and Mrs. Harper. She made it clear from the outset that this type of financial support was never intended to be a permanent arrangement, nor was it designed to allow one spouse to indefinitely rely on the income of the other without taking steps toward financial independence. Instead, she emphasized, spousal maintenance exists as a temporary measure, a form of assistance intended to help the recipient transition into a position where they can support themselves. In this particular case, the court determined that Mrs. Harper would be entitled to receive $4,500 per month in spousal maintenance. As part of the calculation, the judge noted that Mr. Harper was already contributing $309 each month toward the children's health insurance. She allowed him credit for that expense, factoring it into the total monthly obligation he would be required to pay. Once both the spousal maintenance and child support amounts were added together, the judge arrived at a total of $6,800 per month in payments from Mr. Harper to Mrs. Harper. The judge explained that she considered this amount to be fair and reasonable, especially given the other ongoing expenses that Mr. Harper was already responsible for. In particular, he would continue to cover the cost of the children's nanny, which amounted to $1,200 each month, as well as the $1,800 monthly tuition for their private school. These provisions, the court reasoned, would ensure that the children's day-to-day lives experienced as little disruption as possible. Their schooling, care, and familiar routines would remain intact despite the marital separation. However, the court was equally clear about Mrs. Harper's own responsibilities. The judge reminded her that while this arrangement would help maintain stability for the children, she would still need to contribute toward her own living expenses. Specifically, the mortgage on any new home she chose to purchase would not be fully covered by Mr. Harper. The judge declined to require him to shoulder the entire $3,000 monthly payment Mrs. Harper had estimated for housing, reasoning that she would be capable of contributing once she secured employment. The discussion then turned to the temporary nature of the support. The judge stressed again that spousal maintenance was not meant to provide indefinite financial comfort. Instead, it was meant to serve as a bridge, a period of stability during which Mrs. Harper could take concrete steps to enter or re-enter the workforce. find a steady income, and begin providing for herself and her children. To that end, the judge outlined scenarios in which the spousal maintenance could be reduced or even eliminated. If Mrs. Harper were to secure a job that provided her with a reasonable income, if the children were withdrawn from private school for any reason, or if the nanny's services were no longer needed, Mr. Harper would have the right to return to court and petition for a modification of the payments. The implication was that these financial obligations were tied directly to the family's current structure and needs, and if those needs changed, so too could the support arrangements. Mrs. Harper, understandably concerned about her employment prospects, posed a direct question to the judge. "What if it takes me a year to get a job?" Her tone implied that securing suitable employment might be a lengthy process, perhaps requiring more time than the court anticipated. The judge's response was firm. While she acknowledged that finding a job could take some time, she also cautioned against prolonging the process unnecessarily. If, after years, Mrs. Harper was still unemployed, the court would view that as an indication that she was not making a genuine effort to become self-sufficient. In such a case, the judge warned, she would have no hesitation in ending the spousal maintenance altogether. The message was unmistakable. The court expected diligence, effort, and a clear plan toward financial independence, not prolonged reliance on support payments. From the judge's perspective, the arrangement struck the right balance between fairness and responsibility. Mr. Harper's financial contributions were substantial, beyond the $6,800 combined payment for child support and spousal maintenance. He would continue funding the nanny and private school. These measures preserved the children's lifestyle and well-being, a priority the court made clear throughout the proceedings. At the same time, Mrs. Harper was not being placed in a position where she could indefinitely avoid contributing to her own living costs. In summarizing her ruling, the judge reiterated that the children's needs were at the center of her decision. The goal was to ensure they remained in a stable environment with minimal disruption to their routines. The spousal maintenance, while generous in amount, was never meant to be permanent. It was a stepping stone, an opportunity for Mrs. Harper to secure her footing, find suitable housing, and transition into financial independence without abruptly altering the children's lives. With those terms laid out clearly on the record, the judge asked if there were any remaining questions from either party. Mrs. Harper said she had nothing further, and Mr. Harper likewise indicated he had no additional questions or objections at that time. Satisfied that all matters had been addressed, the judge formally dismissed the case. The parties thanked the court, and with that, the proceeding concluded. Mrs. Harper left with the assurance of several months of financial support and the stability of knowing her children's care and schooling would remain uninterrupted. Mr. Harper departed with clearly defined obligations and the knowledge that the arrangement was temporary and subject to modification should circumstances change. The ruling, in the judge's view, reflected a fair compromise, one that preserved the children's well-being, offered Mrs. Harper time and resources to re-establish herself, and maintained a degree of financial accountability for both parties. The case underscored a central principle of family court. While the past may be fraught with conflict, the future must be built with the children's best interests at heart, supported by a plan that encourages both stability and eventual self